name is Jessica Holyfield, and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're going to be taking a look at a Patreon request. Shout out to Lauren for the request. It is going to be On and Offs by My Monster. This is one of their newest comebacks, I believe. I think that's what Lauren told me. Cannot wait to look at this because the last time I saw On and Off was their time on Road to Kingdom, which has been a hot minute and a half ago. Recent for me, but not for everybody else. A lot of time has passed. Cannot wait to see what they bring to the table here. Let's check it out. Wow. Wow. Angsty, but the tone of it and the emotion that it feels. I'm trying to find the right words for it. God, I love this. So clean. Yeah. Woo! That was a gorgeous canon, allowing the wrist to be at the forefront of that. Yes. Why does that feel familiar? Oh my God. Hold on. I don't know who did it. It just feels familiar. I love that. Beautiful. It feels like hopeful, but angsty. It just gives off like a hopeful angst about it. Maybe I'll know more by the music video. Nice pull. There's so much quickness in their transitions. It's crazy. I love it. Yeah. This is a really great usage of dancers. Love it. Sometimes people use them unnecessarily, meaning that you can hold the concept without needing them. Other times they use them too heavily, but here it's a beautiful mix. Love it. Great usage of the hand. Does give a monster vibe, right? Like, nice. And it's a one take. I gotta love the one takes. Nice. Nice. This kind of track doesn't feel like you would have a dance practice affiliated with it. It honestly sounds more like it would be a part of an OST of a show, right? But I am here for this. I love it. I remember what this part reminds me of. Psycher's Tricky House. Very end of it. Cool. Dope. Love it. With a little melt away. Super cute. So that was really enjoyable. Let's go ahead and look at the music video right here, ready to go. Yes, English translation. Wow. Angsty start. This feels very, it gives like a Jin 2 angst about it, like Infinite. I love it, because of the violins and the strings in the back. That's probably why. And the words are so deep, and they match the tone and what they're going for very well. Making my life miserable, ugh. Ooh. This feels very explosive for the type of track it sounds like. That's what's so interesting to me. To each their own. That part with the switch on the feet, that reminds me of Maverick by The Boys. But the upper body is different, but it's just that lower body is what it reminded me of. Cool. The ripples of the lake of my heart gradually spread. They sway me. Oof. Wow. Wow. Beautiful. I mean, that's such a great, beautiful shadow. It feels that like this was a true depiction of beautiful shadow, right? I love it. It's so the words are so deep and like not dark, but dark imagery, I would say, but it's so, there's so much angst is just the word that I would express to this, but it has like a hopefulness in the back. Like, I hope that you live life well, not with me, because I don't think I'm good for you is kind of what it comes across as, right? But we're gonna go from the top here. So like I referenced, there was two things in the choreography that reminded me of things I've already previously seen, but not in any plagiarized way, just more of an observation way. Okay, did a little Reddit digging, Twitter digging, and Kim Song-kwon is the choreographer for this. They're known as a high performance director, but also performance director for SHINee, a couple of Minho's works and Taemin's works. So very cool. I like seeing different choreographers. I don't think I've seen his work outside of this because I hadn't seen Taemin's Light from his Metamorph concert yet, but I really enjoyed it. I really love the formations and transitions on this one. The dynamics were beautiful. I did also hear that there's a particular, I can't name it at the top of my head, they did remix it, or they did accompaniment wise, they combined it with a classical piece. That's what it gives off energy wise. I love it. Has a somber vibe to it, which I think is super dope. Anyway, so from the top here, a little melt away, a little grueling, but I think it's a fun little trendsetter. The top beginning, I love whenever you have your feature in the back, you can tell with how he's engaging with his fingers, allowing the first two to kind of mimic, and he's controlling them subtly, but allowing his movement to match that as well. Beautiful start. Then you have a really nice addition, just one person, but it's really clean how in the very beginning, they've set up a picture moment, and then as soon as you have this movement start taking place, as they are added on, they have to make sure that they are in that same spacing in order to keep it the visual that you're going for. So as they continue to add on individuals, they have to make sure they start at the exact place they need to be that was established in the beginning of the pose. So oh God, I just love it. It's great. The melt, and it does feel like with one of them, he added a little like lift before he went through. So subtle, more of an observation. It looks fine. Then from there, they all reset in the center, melt the arms up. There's so many melts, so beautiful. I'm always a fan of them. They add breath, inflation, deflation. It just feels really nice, and it kind of pulses in a beautiful way, like breathing, but through extremities. I'm always a fan of that. Right there, really nice ripple to transition starting from the very front. Great usage of using a lower level to expand out so you can still see the visual traveling up the formation. Looks great. That right there was so interesting because normally you would see it pan out to a diagonal. Very much not what this formation is. You still have two that were hanging out from that initial formation. They expand out. We actually established a mini diagonal. Then we have one of our members who is in the very back go and fill in a space right here in between this group and this group. So it feels nice and fitting and filled in beautifully. Definitely a fan of that. Looks great. From here, I love that it actually allowed, that's so cool. That's why I do analysis, is that I get to be reintroduced to some of these transition moments. What's so nice about this is that as they transition out, they all created a nice dynamic together. The speed change to creating more of a slow motion effect kind of feels similar to a lot of the CGI graphics they used in the music video. So I love that we get to appreciate that in a choreographic way here. Having your first feature, very easy to see him. He's the only one moving normally. Well, is he? Hold on. He's the only one moving like linearly, like towards us, right? He's moving more normal. Everyone else does a little speed change, slow-mo, and then they stop on a particular boom, very nice, distinct sound. Then from there, we have a wave. No, I'm a sucker for waves as a waver in the waving community. It's a lot of waves in one sentence, but I digress. I love how they peeled it out. He just expanded his hand out and they said, let us wave this real quick. Beautiful. All the way through the fingers. Definitely a fan of that. Then they take it. Not everybody did the wave. You see your top two do, and then your bottom three with your first guy. First guy did, second two didn't. That's fine. But it was a really nice moment, this little accent that happened right after. Super cool. Oh, and then notice that not everybody does the same direction, but the same dynamic. So it's balanced because you have half the group taking their hand over to one side and half the group take it over to the other. Really nice, great usage of the back on that instead of just the hand, because allowing the back to be involved makes it more powerful and shows the tension and the speed change beautifully, which you do see here. This is also an even number group. Love seeing that we are taking advantage of being an even number, and I have not seen, out of all my analysis, I have not seen this many interesting formations with an even number in a hot minute. These are so abstract, but they're balanced in such a way where it kind of feels like we're challenging the norms of symmetry, but it doesn't feel that we are, honestly, balance is maintained, and that's kind of your end goal. It feels more artistic in choice, and it makes me really invested on what's going on choreographically because I'm so intrigued by how the formation is set up. And normally it's the other way around. So I love that. Super cool. Great level usage. They take it, bring it around, then at the same time they take that hand and bring it up nice and tall. Then they peel. The subtlety of the head matches the intimacy of his tone. Da da da. Woo! Yes to that. They go and reset. Boom, really nice. Everybody up, nice in a neutral position, ready to promote and charge forward. We take it, bleed the energy. Everybody drops it. Notice one of them really bleeds a little bit longer right next to our feature. Don't know if that was intentional or just everybody else kind of, did the choreography subtly different. Now, this could be a camera angle thing. Maybe we'll chalk it up to that, but do note this is our center that we see here. You do notice this side, it is much clearer to see what's going on in the diagonal, or seeing, we're making and establishing a V to frame the outside, and they're splitting center, or he is our center. He's hanging out over here, but there is one of our guys over here that is just not seen. So this is more of a, note if we were really trying to get a really nice clean visual and not having to factor in the camera as much. I'd move my guy over, not this guy, not him. There's a guy right behind him. That's who I would move over, and it would feel very symmetrical here. It just feels a little missing, little question mark. Where'd he go? He's behind this guy. So that would be my note, but we can't always chalk it up to the camera, like I said. Okay, yeah. So my guy right here, he was supposed to, it looks like he was matching the same energy, but he went a little bit slower. I think that's fine because he was in the center, but my outside guys went really a lot faster. Then they branch it out, boom, they go in. I like the subtlety of the slide with a nice little ISO moment, but they didn't isolate it on this plane. They isolated it more on this plane, right? So you're able to see it facing a different direction. So I really like that choice. It makes it feel more full, and it is harder to clean in that way. So that looks really nice. I like that choice, that dee 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 dee. I really like that. Excuse my camera shaking. I have a cat that is on me now. But notice how we take it and they're all matching dee 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 dee. Honestly, his tone and how he's doing the lyricism and how he's hitting his notes sounds just like a piano. Do 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 do. Very beautiful on that melody. Easy, right? And then just really simple hand extension. Notice that I don't think any of them are technically looking at him. That's really fun. So it's really nice for him to really push and project forward and look right at us, which looks really nice. He presents his arms out, makes it nice and a little bit vulnerable, very open, right? Then everybody else takes it. They take that arm, and then notice whenever they wave in, they allow that head to kind of snake, which is, you know, like using the crown of the head to create a direction in a legato groove of some kind. That's snaking. Love that. And they take it boom, boom. I love that. Boom, boom. They use the head to direct this, but they try to keep those arms glued to our feature. Really like that. It makes it feel more unified as a group as they transition that. Really cool. The subtlety, boom, boom, and then they're taking the tension. Notice they're raising the shoulders here as they're separating and isolating those fingers, making it a moment. Then enter the dancers. New feature. I love this part. Very nice, very clean. You have your dancers come in, not a distraction, and I appreciate the opposing colors. Simple yet effective. Helps us, like people like me, even though I've seen them in Road to Kingdom, I could not begin to tell you their names, but I can appreciate their movement quality and their progression from the show to now. This arrangement, beautiful. Probably one of my favorite arrangements on their discography. Very limited on my case, but it's really nice to hear and see. Because I did have a couple mixed reviews personally on some of their arrangements that they chose to do on Road to Kingdom, but that's a personal preference. No, it has nothing to do with their competency. I appreciated the successes that they had in the show, and I'm so glad we get to see them here in 2024 because of those successes. So I'm really happy with that. You know, having the dancers not really being distracting, but we can tell there's another presence that has entered the group chat, you know. You can't really ignore that. So how the behavior of them take place really helps influence how we view this. So it's nice that they are slowly notice that this whole group is not quite on center, and it allows this group to come onto the scene, not feeling like they're infiltrating or causing imbalance at any point. So I really like that. Really fun. And having the subtlety of all your members move to the back, and then having your feature stay front looks great. They branch it out. Notice he throws it up. They take it and use that push that you saw our feature do. They pushed it to get to a different formation. That looked great. Sliding it in. I love that choice. And the drop. Really nice to see there. It looks super cool. Head rotates all the way around, looks wonderful. Little blooming flower action. It is really nice to see here. Then they reverse it. So they bloom the flower and then they take it and rotate it to the inside to branch it up. Very nice. Twinkling once again, similar to a lot of this that we saw. So we're going to see these types of fingerprints throughout. I love it when a choreographer does that, but they do it in an unconventional way. They do it in different choreographic setups, usage of formations, dynamics, ripples, as well as content. Just, you know, different formations and how you choose to showcase it. It's nice because it feels, there's a sense of familiarity, not really predictability. Of course you can entertain that possibly, but I really like being able to have something familiar to look at, but not see it as, oh, we're repeating the same thing, right? Especially in your verses. It's okay in the chorus. It's actually more, I think culturally we're used to things repeating in the chorus regardless if they're in the same formation or not, but we're not quite, you know, we prefer to have development, storyline development or development of style or choreography in your verses. So I appreciate that fingerprint there, and we're going to see it throughout the routine, it feels like, for sure. This was gorgeous. The quickness into the speed changes, there's a lot of that happening. It matches beautifully with how the strings operate when it comes to the breath of the vibrato with those. Also with just the ebb and the flow. It makes you and it takes you on this little journey here. Hence why it feels so interesting to have such a aggressive music video on a CGI front in comparison to not the daintiness, but the the breath, the breathability of the choreo. Honestly, it feels more like we would be in a forest, at a park on a gloomy day. It feels more like that, more realism than dystopian, if that kind of makes sense. But that's just my personal relation to the overlapping timbres and tonal colors, so sound context that I'm used to hearing from my cultural background than maybe somebody else's. So I'm very curious if you know more about the arranger's choice or whoever was in charge of the music video, why they ended up making the choices they did. I'm very intrigued to learn more about that, because I do think there's beauty in different perspectives, especially if they are different than mine, but we can celebrate art in different capacities. I love the choreography on the music. I think it is so fitting and beautiful, and there is of course waving, isos, and a lot of syncopation, and it just makes me really happy to be able to talk about it. Lauren, you're so cool. Thank you for recommending this. But notice the lean on this. They're really having to put all of their energy. A lot of them are really grabbing him to make sure he's able to go. Now the tricky thing is we have one of our guys in front. We cannot see how our feature here is leveraging his weight. He could be separating his feet so he has a really nice stable anchor, and this is just more of a, you know, oh my gosh, what's it called? Not collaboration, but whenever you cooperate. It's a cooperation, right? English is hard, even for me, and it's the only language I know really well. Bless the bilingual people, hats off to you. But I really like this lean into this energy, super fun, and I think it was strategic if they did choose to modify it so he could be more successful in the singability but still maintain the dynamic. Having your other performers really frame around to make it a beautiful moment where you do have a little bit of height over on the tail end, but it does give beautiful direction because of that lunge, that we want to take the direction going from stage right to stage left. Looks beautiful. Pops up, bum, bum. Now how he hops and drops, it is important that we want to be mindful. You'd be shocked at the power of having heavy feet can really take away from the daintiness of your choreo. I talk to a lot of dancers, point dancers, for example. If you don't know what point is what you normally see when people say ballerina and they're on their toes. That is a point shoe. What is different about that than a flat shoe, a ballet shoe, is a ballet shoe does not have a shank in it. What that is a little wooden kind of like thin sheet stick that's on the sole of the shoe, as well as the box is hard. That is how they're able to get up on the shoe. Now, when you have a shoe like that, it is loud. So whenever you have a very dainty character you're playing, they have to make sure that they are not crashing or placing their weight too heavily on impact, or they're going to be sounding like clickety clock, and you do not want that when you are on stage. And a lot of stages have live music. Now for me, where I'm at, we don't use live music. We have it as a backtrack, but professional companies have orchestras they hire for their shows. Now in this case here, you can hear them moving in the routine. The reason why it feels so light is because they are light on their feet in terms of how they are showcasing the depth of the movement. Just because they look grounded doesn't mean that they're shoving their weight into the ground. They have to be mindful of the plie or the bends as they jump, hop, and land, because this would have sounded very aggressive to the intimacy of this part of the music had we have heard him land heavier. So that's just a little interesting note. Just in the rehearsal space, you notice it a lot more than on stage, but on stage, if you've seen live performances, sometimes you can tell, ooh, they're loud. You know, sometimes that music can be a little too quiet for your peace of mind. But all that to say, I appreciate the intention of not being heavy foot or like heavy in your weight, pressing down into the floor when you jump, because sometimes you just want to just sound loud, not in a track like this, and they do a great job. The subtlety of this, boom, love this here, DDD, once again, nice little tap tap, they bring it up, this is where your angsty little claw comes out, they take a pa-pa, da-da, fun, I love that. Then you have your dancers all framed down, so I do like the complementary facing forward and projecting forward with our performers, and then you have your dancers kind of frame it down like I said, but notice the fullness of everybody. Everybody has their legs nice and full and beautifully in range. This is freaking sick from our performers. Look at how clean this is. Ooh, that's really nice. That's an A+ for me. That looks great. Boom. We are monster. Notice the range. We've really infiltrated more of a kinespheric perspective. We're really pushing out here, not just here, and keeping it internal. Love that. As it builds, we have now added more percussion, more fullness in the backtrack. So of course, having more fullness of movement is going to be not required, but highly suggested if you want to keep us engaged in the choreography. Looks great. Take the fullness, they drop it, hitting it through, boom, and nice little peel out there. Looks great. Hitting through, boom, da-da-da, and a nice little tap there. Yeah, I love this, boom, and then they bring it around all nice, and they're like, ah, woe is me, woe is you. I'm so sorry. That light is turning off, my guys. Ah. They take it, boom, da-da-da-da, right there on how he said it, the syllables, da-da. Really good, really good. Da-da-da, He held a note, they held a move. It's simple things like that, but so effective. I love it. Then they take it through. Look how beautiful the transition was. We went from a small group with windows into like from that with your dancers in like a semicircle cipher kind of vibe into your dancers are filling in the back to create this beautiful pyramid. Like it went from something very, smooth in formation to a sharper lined formation, but it's just, God, this is crispy. I love it. I think the formations on this one are just so beautiful that they're just art in and of themselves. This is so nice. A little swing through. I love that. Notice with our main performer or our feature in this moment, he is projecting his face forward. Everybody else is kind of looking in the direction that they're swinging their arms back to. Not swinging their arms, opposing. So they're looking in the direction where their body is facing, is kind of what I'm saying. But I like it. Facing the corner. It's nice. Taking it through do-do-do-do. Switching immediately to the other side. So there's a lot of direction changes, but it doesn't feel labored at all. It feels very angsty. Like the pull, like when your heartstrings get pulled and the impulsiveness that you can feel in that, it kind of gives off that energy, which I really, really like. I like that choice. Very isolated, syncopated. I really like that build up and taking it and pulling that energy from the hip. And then they swing it up and then they create a really nice tension to come out of it. So it's those choices, and they have to be on top of it collectively in order for us to appreciate those things in unison. In order for me to very clearly know exactly what's going on, which showcases really great synchronicity on their part, which I love. Love seeing that. Hitting it through D, and then notice our center is, except for just our feature, is really projecting his energy front. Everybody else is projecting it out to the side. I really love that. Having the arms be thrown down, but notice it's not super loud. But it feels like we just slammed all of our energy down, but no impact because the song doesn't call for that. Yes to whoever cleaned this. Love it. Cleaning choreography is a different ballgame than choreographing it. It is different than whenever you do movement direction with it. It is different than when you dance it. They're just all different. So I love whoever cleaned this. If it was a member, kudos to them. Don't stop doing it. If it was somebody new they brought in, keep them. If there's somebody established, yay for you. Stick around. I love seeing it. Super nice. The tension on this, once again, they take it, boom, it's collective down, and this time it's more individualized, and they're pulling at the chest. Ah, it's so good. It's like a vomit of sadness. Blech, I love it. He takes it, he earns it out, they take it, wow, love that energy as they swinging it around, and they make it slow, and then boom, 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 beautiful cannon here. Bleed, bleed, bleed. Gosh, boom, 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 right there on the orchestra. Ah, I love it. And they take it, yes, and then they take it as a transition, swing it around, really great way to get into a different formation, and it was so quick, right? That cannon, right here into the next movement, we're about to kick that leg, but notice the leg, you want to go, no, they went, whoa, they take that tension, really make it nice and full, and allow that body to be a receiver of the energy that they're pulling from that leg. It's just so intentional. I'm a fan of tension in choreo like this. And it's different than like a sexual tension. Do you know what I'm talking about? There is a difference there. Here, it's a angsty tension. Angsty is our word of the day for this video. And I'm here for it because it showcases a lot of depth behind what angst can look like in movement. And this is a great example. Angst, there's like this pull. A lot of times when you see people get pulled in this way, it's not voluntary, right? So a lot of our feelings that we feel that kind of cater to this type of genre of concept, it feels very much like we can't control the situation. All we can do is control what we say, right? But like our actions just feel so different. I just love it. So artistic. The pull on that part was really nice. They drop it down, ding ding. Love the fullness of the arms range on that compared to how we were bleeding it up in a subtle trace of tension. Switching it through, ding ding, dee dee dee. Right there, you can hear exactly what they're going on on that string section. Dead up, boom, boom, and they build it up. Now, some people could debate, are they doing too much? Personally, I think that's just a personal preference on that. I think I appreciate a lot of the build-up, a lot of the really sharp to a lot of tense full rotation, because it feels like we're appreciating the music excerpt that we took to appreciate and infiltrate in our concept. So I'm personally fine with it. It's just what they do with the rest of it, which I think they do a pretty good job on. So they take the fullness and they take that leg, branch it around, D, and then they take it right back in. You see your dancers go right back here to what we saw before, but their feet are together this time, so it feels different. It's little details like that. And they take it through D. Now this does feel like we're about to eat an apple, you know, but I know this is just a little monster hand. And they take it here, and so instead of here, they have it here. So notice it feels a little bit more closed off. A really good way to kind of bookend your choreo to make it feel like, okay, we're getting ready for verse 2. Kind of feels like that. Love it. Melts once again, really easy to see our feature. Why? Everyone's on the ground. So they're down. That right there, I love the fact that they have such a quick response to the breaths. Normally you have people go on certain runs or certain ways that a pitch is being hit. Here, it's the breath and like how audible it is and how quick their transition is to match to the degree of the breath. That is impressive. I really like that. The melt right there, now this move right here, you may think they're using their arms. The focus is actually their shoulders. So if you notice, their shoulders are causing an effect with the rest of the body. It's very similar to the pull of the chest causes the head to move with it. It kind of goes like that. So if you look, you'll notice how the torso is involved, right? So the torso, and then they're using leverage of their legs and where their weight is on their legs, because one's on the knee and one's on the foot. So they have to make sure that they're nice and firm there as they do that so they don't fall over. So they keep it pretty, you know, side to side or in line on track with where their legs are, because that's where they have leverage on the ground. So if they're going like back to front when their legs are side to side, they're going to be more susceptible to want to fall on the ground. So that's why you're going to see my guy right here, you saw him go more side to side instead of going front to back, even though his body is angsty to the ground. You know, it's because of where is all of his weight keeping him up, knee, the toe, and the foot. So that's just a nice little interesting thing to point out there. They come up very nice. Once again, little dainty in the park in rain. Not quite buildings exploding, but you know, that's what reminds me of like the Gen 2 vibe, because Gen 2 a lot of times had that kind of like this type of track, but it was so chaotic in the music video. It kind of felt like that, but also the percussion with the swing, oh my gosh, with the stringed instruments and stringed arrangement, it does feel like the same degree of, you know, yearning that I would hear from Infinite. Now, I'm not as familiar with Infinite's discography like I am with other Gen 2 groups, but I am familiar enough to know that they have killer arrangements whenever they use the stringed instruments, for sure. Bad, love it. Love that arrangement. Anyway, but moving on from here, having one person nice and low, all of your dancers staying low to establish a fun level to help with this feature that's right here in the front, but low, then having your feature travel across. It's nice. He takes him and allows a response to take place. He hits him, you know, he like taps him to trigger him to come up. Really nice, easy way to introduce a new feature. Then we're nice and connected. They take it over, boom, boom. They branch it out. I love that. Then you have a nice, you know, setup happening in the back. I love the opposition of color, so it's easy to see that, but it doesn't take away. The pull is nice. Once again, I love all the way through the fingers. You guys will be shocked at how many people neglect the fingers. Why do I know that? I used to be that person, and I got not told off, but respectfully corrected in that area when I started seeking mentorship for waving. That was something that I had to get over very quickly, is not using these. So if you are somebody who does choreography that involves waves, I'm telling you as a waver and a teacher, you gotta use the fingers to complete the waves in the entrances and in the exits. All that to say, my guy right here does just that. That's why his have that little nice little oomph at the end. That's why. It's just beautiful. So fun. Brings it in. Once again, they grab, great trust and great muscle memory to make sure they're grabbing at the right spot. The thrust over to the drop of the level looks great. Then they bring it up, boom, boom. Once again, you notice his chin is leading him back a little bit, but pulling that chest forward. I really like that because it feels like we're recognizing the strings in the back without feeling a little bit too like project, like downcast. It feels more like I'm being pulled away, not at my own choice, but I'm submissive to it. It kind of feels like that, which matches the lyricism very well. He takes it, notice everybody's crawling those hands up to him, and then they pull him away. Now, I have seen stuff like that before. I remember seeing, Very did something like that, but I had big notes to give them and how they executed it. I think the first time I saw somebody really use this, and it was just sick, like in the best way, was Chibi Unity at Vibe when they did I Won't Complain. Like, that one is just burned in my brain in the best possible compliment because there was just so much innovation in it. And so anytime I see somebody get like thrown back, something I look for is believability. How believable is it that they just took you away? Or did it feel really placed? I've seen both cases, and I've talked about both cases as I've encountered them. But if you look here, my only note that I would potentially give, and it's not really a critique, it's just an observation based on me seeing this particular setup, this would just be something I would just want to see what if, right? They crawl up, they pull him. Very well done on how he just committed to it. He really pulls and allows that lower back in his butt to pull him back and then making him kind of drop out. Really nice. However, my one note is you can see him kind of go back. You want to make him look like he's disappeared. It doesn't quite feel that way. It feels like his part is done. We're transitioning. So that would be a what if section. What if we tried a different finish after he got done with my dancers? What would it look like if I had them close versus keep that space open? Was that an intentional choice? Probably. That's just an interesting thing that I think would be, intriguing to try. Immediately, the quickness of the transition, like I said, into the angstiness. Notice the opposition of the hands to the head. Really nice. And they take it, boom, boom, boom. It feels like a mosh pit party of them. I love it. He takes it through, boom, boom, boom. Now, it's not really a strobe. It does feel like they're infiltrating in more of a crump influence and how you would typically do a crump posture when you do jabs, whenever you do, usage of elbows, rebounds, when you go buck, a lot of times there's a lot of that tension that takes place in the torso. I'm not saying they're doing crump. So that's why I use the word articulate, because it's separation of movements. But a better way, or a more specific way that I would say, is that section does remind me of whenever they pom pom pom, when they're angsty. It does have a rawness to it, which I love, but it does cater to crump a little bit in that sense, which I really like. I love that part. That boom, boom. And of course, there's a lot of that fullness and there's a lot of tension in the rotations. That's another thing. The ISOs feel very heavy, but sharp at the same time, which reminds me of a lot of crump ISOs when you see them done to the type of percussion that you get in sound production of a crump track. And you have a heavier percussion here too. So that's why I feel the overlap there. And I like how they took it, and you have your dancers nice and low, and they framed out, and they had a nice moment. And then the dancers framed out but diagonal with their levels. That was really fun. Having your members in the center look great, and then you have your dancers outside, boom boom, nice throw. Some of them use their hands, some use their back. I always say use your back. It's going to look more powerful that way, but to each their own. Taking it through, I like the dig through, boom boom. I like that transition forward. How he's holding his arms, a lot of it is just, it's giving an upper body crump posture, but he's not really doing crump. Does that make sense? It's the texture of crump, but no fundamental, if that makes sense. But I like it. It looks cool. Looks really dope. Takes it through, boom, a nice little throw. They take it around. I love this, where all of your features or your performers go away. Then you have them all get thrown down, your dancers, and then you have your feature right there. The top looks great. They pull that energy. I love how they're grabbing on the shoulders. Super nice to see there. And then right there, they create a really nice connection. Now, that part right there is what makes me think whenever you saw one of our features get pulled away, I wonder if that is what that little fingerprint they wanted to keep was this right here, right? That's why I said it's more of a preference, just a note, not even a critique. Because I feel like there's always things that can be connected. Sometimes you just won't know until you ask. But I like this choice where you have them kind of peekaboo through the hole. And he takes the opposite approach versus one of our features getting pulled back. He projects forward. That's why I feel like there's kind of a correlation between the two moments. But once again, notice that pull. Where do they pull? Chest. And allow the head to be influenced by that, as well as the legs. Dancers run away. Here we go. Don't wanna be your monster. Yeah, same chorus as well, but notice it feels a little different because you don't have your dancers there. It looks great. Once again, boom. Notice we have a little reverb happening. If you don't know the difference between a rebound, a reverb, and a recoil, this would be deemed a reverb because it is hitting, well, possibly a recoil, because a recoil you can kind of cater it to whenever you like. If you see somebody shoot a shotgun, you see how the body responds to it. It recoils, like it has some sense of rebound off of the gun in that way, but it's not something from big to small, right? A rebound has equal energy going in and out. A reverb goes from big to little, and it kind of chills out, right? So it just depends on context. So in this way, oh look, I missed it again. Hold on. And once again, hold on. Let me see the setup. Well, only my front guy did it. I kind of feel like that's a recoil because there's tension through the whole thing and you're not letting it simmer out. So that's why I would call that a recoil. But it just kind of depends. The choreographer just said, let it bleed through. That's also another way you could put it. But bleeding has more of like a legato, for me, connotation because it's liquid, right? And liquid has more of a legato to it. But, you know, to each their own on that. That right there, I really appreciate how we're taking the energy and we're really allowing our body to kind of sticky our way through this so it feels a little bit more real, more raw. It doesn't feel placed as much. It feels like this is digging into my body and I'm allowing it to. It's kind of like that. There we go. You notice that choice as well? Boom. That part matched very well. Why? Because we saw fingerprints of other movements being complemented to that part of the music as well. It's just the choreographer did a great job of showcasing those fingerprints. Super fun. Digging it through. Boom. Nice little throw. Love that. Then they take it. They swing. And then that standing leg does a nice little scoop. Love that choice. Bringing it through. Boom. This part doesn't have that recoil to it. That switch. Notice our feature is looking. Everybody else, I mean, some of them are looking front, some are looking at their hands, so I'm not quite clear or sure where their head is supposed to be looking on this. That's just my one note there. I am used to seeing groups that are very clear and intentional on where their head goes, so I do notice it whenever they're not doing it as much, but that's okay. That's life. That's fine. Not all groups have different things they're good at. For me, I really appreciate the commitment that they have, and I really love the formations of this immensely. It's incredible. Digging it in once again, love that they're taking it once different feature in the front, really putting that bear claw, monster claw out. Everybody else presenting it to the sides. Fun way to frame. Angst once again, where are they pulling? Chest. That's going to be your overall posture. In that is going to be the chest pulls and their directions. Bring it through that boom. Notice some of them, did they do a head ISO there? Let me see. Well, it was more of a shoulder. You could possibly do a head ISO, but you notice it was more of a shoulder ISO as they pulled it back because the head was staying and chilling in line with the rest of the torso, which I think is totally fine. They stay and they kick it. You have one of our guys to keep his arms together. Is that because he's a feature? No, I think it was a just timing or range, which is a smidgen off there, but it's very minimal because I have a pause. I just caught it, right? But I like the subtlety of their arms here because it allowed the dancers to seamlessly come in and make it look like they're being controlled back to their spot. So I like that regardless if it was intentional or not. I appreciate it. Pulling through the energy, boom, doon, doon, doon. It's this arm specifically with this particular leg progression. It is so similar to Maverick because they have an arm like this. They have this pulsing taking place with their legs in these directions. The only difference is they're giving this pull or this trace to complement it. Now, do I think the choreographer took this from that? No, I'm just saying that's just where my brain goes when I see this move, and there is a similarity. So if you're somebody that has covered Maverick by the boys, that could be how you can approach doing this move here if you do choose to cover it. That's a really good overlap that you see between the trends of groups that have been on Road to Kingdom before. Cool. I love that. And then from there, they go from the, they bring up the energy, they cross it, they bring it up. Then from here, we do a really nice choice with the legs. That wasn't the cleanest thing that we've seen so far, but we're about 224 in out of a 335 routine. It's still really well done. Like, it took this long for me to find like a big discrepancy, and it's not even huge. It's just showcasing more rawness, which I think we can get behind if you're going to build it to the place that you're building it to for the type of track it is. By my monster. Bah, it's like, I'm the monster. I'm the problem is really what they're saying. And so it just sucks to feel that way, right? Really nice intimate moment where he's projecting out, declaring out vocally. Love that. Great transition. They take it through, and then you have a nice complimentary, mirrored moment. Everybody, your dancers are more of the upper tier of levels. Your other performers are in the midline. Love that choice. And then they bleed up the energy, and then your dancers bleed down. Really fun way to make it go from 2 to all 6 of them. Really nice. They branch the arms towards each other. Really nice. It complements well to a lot of this overlap where you have that claw, like that spot. I only have 2 hands, so I can only do so much, but I have a choice. Everybody making their own choice. Oh, angsty boy group. It's fun. I like it. And then you have them all drop. Then they bleed it over. Really fun. Melting it down, the little slide through. You have your little harmony. Notice how it was easy to catch who our feature was because he went in opposition with his head. Everybody else took their head to follow what's going on with the arm. I love that. Love that. I love it when they make it easy for me to know who my feature is. It's so thoughtful and thorough to anyone, to the general public, not just your fans. A lot of times fans will be able to know who's singing just based on tone alone. I recognize some of them, but I don't know their names. So I can't be able to know, oh, that voice is this person. So it feels very considerate to everybody who's watching, and it feels inclusive of, we want to showcase our dancers and our members in a way that is not going to make you feel confused at any point of time of who I want you to focus at when. It's very thought out. I really like that because look, even here, everybody is very intentional where they're looking, except for who? Our new feature. Love it. Great. And notice he took it, and all their legs went, and then they all look up when he threw that arm up. Yes to this. The subtlety of that, you have all your members come up first, they go in, and then your dancers come second after they've established their formation. I like the angstiness of what's going on with the dancers to drop. Nice abstract linked formation happening in this column. Then right here you have it. This honestly in the music video was freaking sick. So I love seeing that. This was very similar to, like the childhood ribbons. It's not in my culture, but I think it's in the Korean culture. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I did see it, funnily enough, in the BSS. It was a video. It was fighting maybe, but they have like these really long strings of 3, and then they kind of thread it or they like weave it through. It kind of gave off that energy here. You let me know if that is what they were going for, but they just used their bodies. Great cinematic shot for that. But having everybody be nice and still so we can see this nice little dip underneath the arch moment. The beauty of everybody being still is so we can see that. Because notice, if anybody was still moving, it would kind of feel muddled and unclear. That's the kind of stuff that I will always appreciate regardless of how simple or complex the setup is. We can always appreciate a good moment like that. Beautiful. Oh, the subtlety once again. I love the commitment with the head to match that. Boom, it's dainty, that bring, and then they melt it down and continue to make it a moment. They're not cutting anything off, and that's the risk you run when you do a lot of this type of movement, is that you're going to be susceptible to want to cut it off to get to your next thing, especially with the quickness of the transitions that we have. But they've done a fantastic job of being very clear when they are doing their speed changes to go from a fast to a slow, like they're moving through molasses, but they're not cutting anything off so we can feel it complete before we move on to the next dynamic. Very impressive, and a lot of trust in each other to make that happen. That boom, love the accent, to bleed it back down, rotating that leg that's towards the audience to them to really rev it up, and then they can rotate it out. Boom, love that. Boom, very clear, branching it forward, hitting it through. Bam, nice little accent there. Branching the energy, and then we slide that foot in as we twinkle those fingers in. The subtlety, boom, boom, boom. Yes, to that. Super cool. Hitting it through. That da da da. Looks great. Da 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 da. I know it kind of sounds like a commentator because I'm repeating what they're doing, but it's just out of admiration, just this part. It's really nice. And notice with one of our guys, he has a little extra hand compared to everybody else. So that made me clock him as a feature. Notice we are a little bit more rigid in these throws. It feels fine to me personally because they showcase competency in synchronicity. And synchronicity doesn't have to be that robotic cleanliness. This type of concept calls for that on very particular niches of the segments, but not for the entirety of it. Part of the beauty of the concept is showcasing rawness, which is going to show unrefined in how people interpret it. And I really like that choice. Most people will be like, that wasn't clean. Was it supposed to be? I feel like they would have cleaned it if it was supposed to be. I don't know. For me, I liked it because it kind of felt a little bit raw, but we maintain a great formation in the process. But that's just my personal. Let's look, we're immediately right back to squeaky clean. So I kind of felt like they were like, pop off the way you feel, and then we'll go right back into something beautiful and seamless. And it makes you appreciate the daintiness of this ISO and how they're making it so subtle and so effective. It's very fragile, but they showcase the sense of rawness to help us appreciate the opposition of how they're doing these movement sequences. I can melt. I mean, I am melting. This is great. Subtlety of this is nice, and then they take it, make it a nice little moment. Super fun. That da-da-da-da-da, making this a common denominator where they keep kind of reaching to each other. They're reaching across. So there's a lot of this kind of connection through this hand. And I like that. And the dancers always do a fantastic job of framing to make this an easier moment for us to see. It could be something as simple as you notice the room is a lighter color. So honestly, having the dancers showcase the separation between our performers and the room. But even if if they were wearing something different, it's going to make it feel like we have all of this space and we do see this group, but it can feel a bit, not cramped, but we're not utilizing our space as effectively. The dancers help alleviate that type of thought, and it doesn't make me think that not one time. Looks great. So they take it. Oh, I got my marker still on. They bring it back in, boom, 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 and then they pull that tension right through as a nice chase, but trace. And then notice that everybody is using the energy they just pulled from their hand to kind of catapult them out to make the formation spaced out. A really brilliant strategic way to get your dancers off because they've made it a huge moment. And then as they run away, you're not focused on that. You're still focused on, wow, that was a really full transition, because it was. And then it was a really great way for your performers, on and off, to spread out. Really nice straight line, turning it through. Of course, some of them chose to spiral it, meaning that they let the head kind of start the descent. Others stayed up, and then they used their body to drop. There's a difference in that. If you watch my guy right here, and then you watch my guy right here, you'll see what I'm talking about. So going back. Yes, that's the exact thing. So he did a full rotation and then dropped, my guy right here. And then you saw with my other one, he allowed the head, most of them actually went with this, which is why I think that would be your go-to, is they let the head project and promote the rotation down. So that would be something that I would clean. But I appreciate the fact that that happened so we could note it and talk about it. Because both look fine. It's just making the choice. Sliding it through, once again, branching up the energy. Notice some of them are taking it and letting the elbows be in charge of that, which is my guy right here. And then some of them are allowing the actual wrist to be the guide. I would say, who was that? I think that's my guy right here. Those two things are subtly different, but they do affect how they both look, right? So if we go off of my guy that's in the olive green, notice he let the elbow set up and then he let the rest of the hands go. But then you notice my other guy in the red and the black, I think he let his wrist do it. Yeah, so he took it and the elbows never stopped. They weren't stuck and then they melted up. He let the wrists be projected and utilizing the elbow to make that moment more full. So that was a really cool thing. I love what I get to talk about in this. Just side note, I love it so much. If you like it too, let me know in the comments. I would love the discussions for this. Oh, Lauren, you're so cool. I have the best Patreon in the world because they recommend just the coolest stuff. I love the throws here. Bring it in, da-da-da-da, boom, great tension. The turn it around, wow, I love that choice as well. The swing, boom, boom, really nice. Pulling up the tension once again, boom, and a boom, boom. Kinesphere is in check here. Building up the energy like what we saw earlier when they did the breakdown before we got to the bridge. We saw this really good, seeing that we're choosing that to finish out because it feels very full and a great way to showcase just the 6 members there. Then we're back to the line and then we melt. Boom, right here, they Oreo cookied this routine. When I say an Oreo cookie, it's the cookie on the outside, the bookends, and then you have your cream in the center. They started and they finish in the same spots. Now, do they start the formation? It's similar. You have this kind of look. It is so similar. Of course, you'd have to back it up, but how they finish is very, very, you know, alike to what they did earlier. This gets an applause for me, a double thumbs up. I am so happy I got to look at an on and off routine from after Road to Kingdom in 2024 to where we can just appreciate it, enjoy it, and see their movement quality just look so... because that's what it made me feel, and I hope it made you feel that way too. This was wonderful. What a wonderful routine we got to look at. Lauren is awesome. Thank you, Lauren, for this. I have so much Road to Kingdom reactions that are on Patreon because Mnet hates it when people use their content. So I have done a significant amount of analysis on and off that you do not see here on YouTube because I can't get it on there. So if that's something that interests you, if you want to hear my perspective on them in that particular context, I have it in Patreon, like I said, all in a beautiful collection ready for you to take a look at. And the discussions over there are wild, just like what I'm expecting in the best way possible here. This is so fun to look at. Cannot wait to hear the conversations that are going to come from this. This was awesome. I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.